Ladies and gentlemen, members of the progressive left are absolutely losing their minds at this very moment. You see, just the other day, President Trump activated the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to really pick up the pace on these mass deportations. And so, right now, members of the progressive left are absolutely panicking. Not because they actually care about these people. No, it's because every single deportation means one less voter for the Democratic Party. And so that's why, right, this very moment, they are trying every single thing they can to stop President Trump from carrying out these mass deportations. But you see, the problem for the progressives is that Trump's team is pretty much running circles around them. They are absolutely schooling the radical progressives every single step of the way. And hey, if you don't believe me, take a look at this. We say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process, an old law. It's not as old as Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we? But some would say, this is how many more times do you plan on deporting Salvador folks? That is how it's done. Oh, you're mad that we are invoking the 1798 Alien Enemies Act because it's too old. Well, guess what? The U.S. Constitution is even older, folks. Tom Hman is an absolute boss. And notice how he just dropped that mic and walked away. He doesn't have time to deal with all of these progressive theatrics. He's got illegal immigrants to deport out of the country. But you know what? Check this out. By now, I'm sure you've all heard that immediately after President Trump activated the Alien Enemies Act, an Obama-appointed federal judge attempted to block it. Now, this federal judge had absolutely no constitutional authority to do this. It was a blatant case of judicial overreach into the executive domain, so, you know what Trump's team did? They pretty much ignored the ruling as they should. And so, folks, as it relates to all of this, just last night, President Trump's chief of staff, Stephen Miller, went on CNN and delivered the smackdown of the century. And so we're going to take a look at that. But first, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel, because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But all right, folks, buckle up, because things are about to get wild. Play the clip. So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order? And might you ignore future court orders that meet the criteria you laid out? The President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the president the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States. That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with, to enjoin, to restrict, or to restrain any way you can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review. Stephen Miller is absolutely correct here. And you know what? Just in case anyone still doesn't understand how this law works, let's take a look at what the Alien Enemies Act actually says, as Article 1 of the Alien Enemies Act clearly states when an invasion or predatory incursion has taken place, the President can invoke the act to apprehend, restrain, and remove all associated foreign men over the age of 14 as, quote, alien enemies. Folks, it doesn't really get any clearer than that. Here's the truth. President Trump is completely within his executive legal rights to invoke this act. But you know what? Let's get back to Stephen Miller. So Stephen, when you say that, this person has no authority at all. This is how our system works. It starts with these judges and then continues up. At what point does it become, in your view, legal for the justice system to be looking at this and making a judgment. And I fail to see how there's any other way. But to start with where we're starting here, before you get to eventually the Supreme Court. Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article 2 powers to defend the country against an invasion or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country, he's exercising his core Article 2 powers as commander-in-chief. Is Venezuela invading the U.S.? This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to